Hello and welcome to another Cedar Creek Motorsports YouTube video. This time we're going to be doing a tutorial on the Polaris 7S display that's powered by Ride Command. The first thing you'll see when you turn on your Polaris that's equipped with their Ride Command 7S display is going to be this little warning banner that pops up just reminding you to pay attention to the trail ahead when you are in motion. If you need to do a lot of customizing to this gauge, make sure you are at a standstill. That will time out, or you can hit that OK button to make it go away. The first screen that will pop up is going to be this gauge display. There's a lot of cool functionality to this. First being, you can change the speedometer and tachometer style just by hitting that button in the top right there. This will bring you to an analog style tachometer with the speedometer in the middle. If you'd rather have just a digital readout, you can do that with this style right here. And then you can select which one is going to be viewed on top, make it a lot easier to see at a glance. You'll notice on the left-hand side of the screen here, we do have a bunch of other information as well, and this is just as customizable, if not a lot more customizable. So if we go to the bottom right-hand corner here, you'll notice this gear icon. If we hit that, that will bring up the settings for the left-hand side of this screen, and you will notice that you can save preset screens in here. So if you share the sled with a friend, you can save your own setup in there and then quickly get back to it very easily. So on this left-hand side here, in order to change what it's showing you, you'll select the gauge pod that you want. Make sure you're over on the data tab as well. And then it'll bring up a bunch of the options for different stats that you can put up on the gauge display right there. And if we go to the bottom left-hand side of this gauge, you will notice a few other icons at the very bottom. By hitting those, it will change the entire left-hand side of the screen. So you can choose if you want to have two gauge pods up on top and then a list of info beneath. You can select to have everything be gauge pods, or you can just select to have a list, which it's really cool that on the list one, the turbo boost gives you a nice bar indicator. Not that you should be looking at that when you're riding, it's just a cool little feature they have on there. If you've gotten everything set how you want, you can go up here and select done. That will save it right there and bring you back to the gauge display. What's really the standout feature for any Polaris 7S display is going to be the Ride Command GPS system. If you're unfamiliar with what this is, it is a specific GPS system for snowmobile trails, ATV trails, and UTV trails. When it's equipped on a snowmobile, it's going to default to showing you all of the snowmobile riding opportunities. And if you want to know more about all these blue, purple, green lines, you can hit this settings menu right here, and if you head over to the map layers, this will give you the option to add or remove the topographic lines on there. You can turn it to a satellite map if you want, but what's really awesome, if we scroll down here, this is going to show you all the different trail types that it's highlighting on the GPS. So your green is going to be your regular connecting trail, blue is going to be your publicly maintained, purple is maintained by the club, and then there's these dashed yellow lines that you might see here and there. That is going to be a legal riding opportunity that's just not a maintained trail. So if you have a crossover sled, that might be something you really want to check out. If we go back to this little settings menu right here, you'll see a lot of options as far as seeing your current ride. This will show you the stats of how long you're riding for, your moving time, how long you were stopped, how far you went. It's going to show you your elevation change. And then you can add, like any other GPS, you can add waypoints. And then you actually enter in latitude and longitude. If you know where you're trying to get that doesn't have an actual address, or you're off trail just kind of exploring, you want it to take you to a certain place, you can enter those latitude and longitude points there. And then you do also have this Rides and Places tab. It's going to show you different rides that the Ride Command system tracked for you, so you can go back the same exact way. You can also save your routes, or you can go to ridecommand.polaris.com and set up your own route. and then import it to this display via the USB drive on the back. Then if you have some waypoints set, under this Places tab, it will show you your waypoints, and you can click on them and it will bring it up on the map right away so you can find exactly where that was set. Then if we go back to this little settings tab here and we go all the way to the right hand side, you'll notice where it says map gauges. If you select that, you can actually customize what it will show you while you are viewing the GPS map. And then you can customize it with a few different gauges, just like on the gauge screen. There's a lot of customizability here as far as what you want it to show. Once you've selected what you want, hit done in the top right, and then you'll see your gauges in the bottom corners, nice and out of the way. Gives you the information while you are navigating. So if you're just taking quick glances down, you want to see where you are, you can easily see the engine temp of the sled as well as your mile an hour up at the top left, which is always there. And then you can customize that bottom corner as well. One really unique feature to the Polaris 7S display is going to be their media viewer. So if we hit that Polaris star button to pull up the master menu here, you'll notice this spot that says media viewer. If you plug in a USB device into the back of this gauge, you do have the ability to take a look at a bunch of photos or videos if you have them loaded on there. So once you get to that trailhead, you can show all your friends all the awesome riding adventures you have, or if you love to ice fish, you can put a picture of your biggest catch right there so the guys know that you're not just making that up. Then, since this Ride Command display has a lot of functionality for your riding group, Polaris did also give you a lot of phone connectivity as well, so you can pair your phone via Bluetooth on here. Get a lot of functionality as far as seeing your contacts, recent calls. You can also place calls if you have your phone hooked up through a communicator. You can get that going right to your helmet as well. It'll show you text messages and all the different devices that you have had paired if you want to quickly pair to another one, or if you want to add a headset onto there as well. It's really awesome if you do pair a headset in there as well, is you do have the functionality to control what music is playing on there. You can turn the volume up, turn it down, you can mute it, you can play, pause, you can also skip tracks, go back to the previous one. So that's a lot of the cool features for the group ride functionality on the Polaris 7S display. They do give you a lot of other stuff you can adjust on here as well. You can adjust that display brightness, so if you're riding at night, turns out that was way too bright, you can turn it down. You can turn that brightness up as well. You can even set it to auto, so it's going to automatically sense the ambient light and adjust the screen brightness according. What I really like is they give you kind of a nighttime and daytime mode. With these screens, I always like having it in the nighttime mode with that black-gray background. You can select more of a daytime mode that's going to have a white background with nice blue highlights on there. Or you can set it to auto, and just like with the brightness, it's going to automatically detect ambient light and then switch accordingly. They do give you heated grip control as well as your heated thumb control right there as well, and hitting that will actually bring up the temperature menu for that. You can customize each heat level to the exact temperature degree that you want. If we go back to this main menu here, you will also notice where it says fuel type 91 non-ethanol. That is going to be their recommended fuel type to run in here. But if you're out on trail and you're not able to find 91 non-ethanol, don't worry, you can still fill it up. They do have a list of fuels that it's okay to run in here. If you run a different kind of fuel, once you start the engine, you just select non-premium fuel ethanol, and that will switch the tune so it's not going to harm itself. And if we go back to the main menu here as well, notice in the top right is this notifications tab. If there's anything that pops up as far as you get a message from your phone, or maybe there is a code that this thing threw, that's where it will end up popping up. And if you click on that bottom right icon, which said all settings, this will bring up a lot more vehicle info. This is where it's going to show you your VIN, the exact model, what kind of software you're running, total miles and engine hours on there. Then if we go on over to the general settings tab here, this is where you'll get the information for your Polaris Ride Command account. You can log in right there. You also get another spot where you can see your Bluetooth devices, add a device, disconnect. And then you have your language controls, speed units, and then temperature units as well. So if you head over to Canada and you really want to view it in kilometers and Celsius, you can switch that over right there. And then down here where you get your system information, this is where you'll want to look. If you ever hear of any kind of updates, you'll take a look there, see what firmware you're running, and then if you need to update, you can go to the Update Software tab. If you go to ridecommand.polaris.com, you can see if they have any updates, throw it on a USB and then plug it in back and then update from there. And then down here, you'll be able to select your time zone as well as what kind of clock format you want. You can also decide to not have the clock be set from the GPS. So if you want to know what time it is from where you headed on out, if you're crossing time zones, you can do that. And if we go down to the vehicle tab, this is where you'll get your diagnostics information. So if there's any kind of codes that ever show up, this is where you can look to get an in-depth view of them. Right now there's no codes on this sled, so it's not going to show anything. This is where you'll get your heated grip control as well. You saw earlier, there's another way to get this menu to pop up, but if you want, you can go to this settings screen and then select the exact temperatures for the heated grip settings as well. And you can do the same thing for the thumb heater. And if you go to where this says V2V group rides, so that's vehicle to vehicle communications. This is where you can select if you want it to show pop-ups for new messages that other riding buddies send you. You can also customize your quick replies, so you don't have to type a full message out. You can do it very quickly from the side of the trail. And if you're wondering why GPS is taking a while to load, if you go to GPS status, this is where it's going to tell you the information on how many satellites it's actually paying off of. Right now, because we're in a steel building, reception's always really bad. It's getting 1, maybe 2 satellites. And then here under fuel type, that's another spot where you can select the fuel type depending on what you have put in the tank. Yet another really cool feature Polaris packed into this 7S display is going to be the Import-Export tab right here. So if you went to ridecommand.polaris.com and you made your route that you want to put into this screen, you can either do that wirelessly or you can import it to a USB drive and plug that into the back of this display. Another really cool thing with this is if you were out riding around exploring all the trails in your local area and you discovered a really cool route, you can save that via the ride tracking functionality in the GPS section of this display. And you can save it and then actually export it to a USB device and then upload it to ridecommand.polaris.com and share that ride with a bunch of other people. You can also give that USB drive to a buddy if you want him to go out, ride the same exact route as you. So it's really awesome that Polaris is finding ways to really bring the riding community together, making this much more of a group sport instead of just going out on your own, although that's still very possible. It's really cool they are giving you all those group functionalities as far as tracking your buddies and being able to share a lot of your riding experiences. Now that you're all up to speed on the Polaris 7S Ride Command powered display, the only thing left is to decide what snowmobile you're taking home. So stop on in at Cedar Creek Motorsports in Cedarburg, Wisconsin, or give us a call at 262-377-5700. Thanks for watching. Let's get riding.